Tonight with this breaking update, shot gloves are getting pulled from Omaha Public Schools. The decision comes after a flood of input from parents and school leaders.
First Alert 6, Philip Katafamo is live in the newsroom. So Philip, there were a lot of developments on this in the last couple hours. Break it down for us.
Yeah, that's for sure, Brian and Jacqueline. In a statement, Omaha Mayor John Ewing confirmed to First Alert 6 in the last hour, Omaha police will end the use of electric shock gloves at Omaha Public Schools. Mayor Ewing said, quote, "On Monday, we reached out to all 4 Omaha Public School District superintendents to discuss the use of this technology, noting that officers have a variety of tools and the glove had been the least impactful. OPS was given the option to opt out, and we honored that," end quote. Now, the news came soon after the superintendent of Omaha Public Schools sent out letters to Omaha Police, Bellevue officials, and the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to end the use of the device in schools. It is important to note DCSO has school resource officers, but they do not utilize the device. Now, at last night's OPS board meeting, we heard from OPS parents, students, and more in opposition to glove. The president of the teachers union tells me students should feel safe in class.
Our students, many are homeless. They need to have shelter and a safe place to live. Our students need healthy food to eat. They need to be in environments that nurture them and love them instead of the environment that we have in our culture right now.
President of the Institute for the Prevention of In-Custody Deaths. He says the glove offers school resource officers an effective tool at a low level of force.
De-escalation is always dependent upon the person to whom the de-escalation is applied. So if the subject doesn't comply, you're not going to get de-escalation. You're going to get escalation most of the time.
Now, we are waiting to hear if Bellevue Public Schools will continue to use these gloves. But when Omaha Public School students start their school year tomorrow, they will not have the gloves. In the studio, I'm Philip Katafamo, First Alert 6. Back to you, Brian.
All right, Philip, thank you for that. Also breaking tonight, Attorney General Mike Hilgers